What's up, guys? Welcome back to CourseCreatorHandbook.com. I'm your host Amit, and today I am going to cover Screenflow. So, there's a couple of softwares that allow you to capture your screen and your face at the same time and also annotate on the screen. One is Screenflow and one is Camtasia. I'm sure there's a million others. I also have a video on how to do this using a free app. It's a Chrome extension called Use Loom, so you can check that out. But Screenflow is or Camtasia, these are the industry standards for course creators. Let me just turn up my brightness here. So I'm going to show you how that's done. Screenflow has a mazillion features, and we're not going to cover all of them. I'm going to show you what I do on a day-to-day basis and how I use Screenflow to produce my videos. And these include some text, some comments, some blurring of things, and some arrows pointing somewhere. And I'm going to show you all of that, how that's done. But again, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of each and every feature that Screenflow has, because the idea here is to ship the product, right? The idea here is to produce your content, put it out there. If you want to blur something, do it. If you want to point arrows, do it, or zoom in and out, do it. But don't spend too much time in making your video like the best video in the world. Get the video out there, get some feedback, and then reiterate on it. So let's get started. This is a previous recording of Screenflow, so you'll be able to see here. Let me actually change the screen size. Hold on one second. Alright, so I've adjusted the screen size. This is the home screen, or this is what you would see once the recording is complete. While you're recording Screenflow, you won't see this. You'll just see an icon in the top right corner of your screen, and you'll also see it in the bottom here, depending on if you're using Mac or Windows, but this is the Screenflow icon. So once you have it, this is what, once you've finished recording, when you hit the stop record button, it generates this file and opens up the Screenflow kind of editor, so to say. So what are we looking at here? When you generate your file, it's going to look like this, but it's not going to be broken out like you see here. It's going to be one long file. So it's going to be something like this. You'll see this one long file here, one long file here, and in your case you might only see one. So let's go over what these two files are first, and then we'll go over the stuff on the right here and then also the stuff in the middle. So this one, it says, is the FaceTime HD camera. So that's the camera that I'm looking into right now talking to you. And then here's the screen recording part, which is the screen on the back here. So as you see, if I click on this area gets selected. If I click here, this area gets selected in the back. So that's my background. Then this is my foreground here. So those are the two things. When you first start Screenflow, you'll see that on the bottom right corner, these three are checked or blue in color. And the only thing I mess with is I just switch off this part, which is thumbnails on your timeline clip. You see these thumbnails? I don't like them. So if you have that enabled, you can disable it. And if I scroll over here, you'll see they're on each and every one of these things. Yeah, these thumbnails, I just don't like them. It's your own preference. I don't like them, so I'm going to disable them. The other two, I don't touch. I don't know what they do. I'm sure there's a purpose, but I have never used it. I've never needed to use it, so I don't need to learn about it. Just in time learning. Learn as you go the things you need to get your job done. That's the motto. And so now, you will see that these spikes here are sound spikes. So as I'm talking into the mic is recording sound spikes. So you can break this into another layer. Screenflow by default keeps the audio and video the same. Let's say you want to split this out. What you do is you just right click and you can say detach audio. So now you have three layers. One, you have your audio layer, and then you have your video layer here, and then you have your screen recording layer here. Now, why might you want to do this? Maybe you have, two audio sources. One could be the built-in audio source, and maybe one is your external mic, and you might want to split them to get rid of the audio from your built-in source and keep the audio from your external mic. Go away, updates. Remind me tomorrow. So that might be the reason why you want to split these. Whatever the reason may be, you know now how to split them. So I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that change. So now one of the few things I do here is I add markers to different places where maybe I want to go back and do something. Let's say I say on the 12-second mark, I say that I'll be putting a link for this here. So in order to do that, I need to remember where to put that link. So I'll just right click here. Well, let's see, double click, I think it is. All right. Right click here and add marker. And then you can name that marker, add link to video. So now, let me move forward here. You'll see there's this little marker that shows up, and if I click on that marker, I'll be able to see what I typed in. So that's how you add markers. Now let's say I'm going through this, I want to split this clip right here. So let's say on the 11-second mark, I want to split this clip. So what I would do is I would select this, and how you select it is you just drag your mouse, keep it pressed, drag it, and select all of it. Now if you wanted to split just this clip and not this part, then you would select just one. But if you wanted to split everything, you just drag it, split this, and I hit the letter T, or you can just right click and do split clips, which again has the letter T right there. So you can do that, and that splits the clip into two parts. I do this whenever, so when you're recording, you will want to take some pauses, maybe to drink water, maybe your cat came in the room, whatever the case is, you might want to take pauses. And when you're taking those pauses, what I do is I clap. So when I clap, it shows a sound spike. And let me see if I have another video to show you. Let's see. Handbook. We are in Screenflow. Alright, let me open this. Alright, this is a good example. So this is how it would look when you first open your Screenflow. This is not edited, hasn't been touched, nothing, and this is how it looks like. So I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can see this bottom part here. You will see, if I go here, zoom in, you see this big spike in the audio. That's the clap, and that's my cue that I need to do some editing here. So what I would do is I would just go here, select these two things. The top one is my HD camera with my audio, and the bottom one is the screen that's being recorded. Now I want them to be in sync, so I'm going to cut both of them at the same placeholder or same marker position, so they are in sync and my lip sync isn't off. So again, once I have selected where I want to cut, I'll just hit the, let me show you what happens before the clap. Alright, so here's the clap, here's me talking, and I don't, obviously when I post this on YouTube, you're not going to see the claps. So how do I do that, or how you're not going to see the spikes, is I'll just select these two things here, I'll move it a little forward, and then hit the letter T. So that part is cut, and then I just hit delete on the keyboard, and then I select them again and drag them all the way to the left. So now it starts with me talking. So that's the first part. We got rid of the spike. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to select my mugshot here, and while I'm talking to you guys, I want to make this big. So I want to make it a little bit bigger, right? Just like this. I don't like the shadow part, so I want to get rid of the shadow. So you'll see on the right side here, these are your different settings: video settings, audio settings. This I never use, this I never use. I'll use callouts. I don't use touch callout unless I'm using an iPhone, recording an iPhone. That's when touch callout comes in. I will show you this annotations and also text, and then also how to add more media. So we're going to go over video, audio, not video motion, not screen recording, call out, not touch call out, annotations, text, and media. So right now I'm under video because I'm editing my video part, and what I want to do is get rid of this shadow right here. So I'm just going to uncheck shadow. Done. Shadow is gone. Now you can see on the right side here I have some of the background showing, but I only want this black, what is this thing called, cardboard or foam board or something. I only want this thing to show, not the part here where you can see beyond that. So I want to edit that, and how you do that is you go to cropping, and I'm going to crop some of the left side, actually no, just the right side. Crop some from the top, and let's do a little bit from the bottom, and that's it. So the cropping part is done. Now this video will stay cropped throughout the entire length, and here's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to play this a little bit, and now let's say I've played it. I want to go to 1 minute mark. So let's go to the 1 minute mark, and now I want to make this video smaller so you can see me in the bottom right corner like you're used to seeing, but you can also see the entire screen of what I'm showing you. How do you do that? Now if I was to just scrunch this, put it in the corner here, what that's going to do is that's just going to do it for the entire length of the video. Now if I go back, you'll see this is back to the corner. If I go back to the 1 minute mark, same thing, it's back down to the corner. We don't want that. We want it in the beginning to start big, and then at the 1 minute mark I want to make it smaller. So how you do that is, let's go to our 1 minute mark, and there are a few ways you can do this. One, you can do a split clip. So again, select the clips, hit the letter T, that splits it, and then from this 1 minute mark onwards, select your video or your camera output and drag and drop it. So now you'll see here it's big. As I go after the split, it goes small, but you saw it happened so quickly, there was no transitioning, and I don't like that. So what are we going to do instead? You select both of these columns, and again, as soon as you select these, see where your red line is. I want to move it back to the 1 minute mark, and now actually, sorry, not both. You just want to select the video because we're taking action on the video itself, not the screen record part. So I'm going to go to the 1 minute mark, select my video output, and I'm going to add a video action. And what that does is it adds this little action point right here. So anything I do from this point onwards will be a new action. So now I can drag it and drop it wherever I want, and that's it. Now I just move that transition, so you'll see what happens. Let me play this for you. As it hits the transition, you'll see it gets smaller and it stays where I want it to stay. Now let's say on the 1.15 mark, 1 minute 15 seconds, I want it to blow up again. I do the same thing. I'll add another video action, scale it, bring it back, and now let's see what happens. It goes down, and once, let's fast forward this, and then once it hits that second marker or the second video action, it blows back up again. So that's how you do the enlargement and shrinking of different videos on your Screenflow. So that was easy, right? Step one over. That's all I do. I don't do much. I don't play with any of these video filters. I don't play with color controls. One thing to know, if you have a green screen and you want to make the green screen black, how you can do that in video filters by clicking the plus and then selecting chroma key and hitting add. What this does is it will, just like you can see here, it's going to make your green screen black, and then here you can select the color and you can refine what color you want. I usually Let's see. It's not going to give me any color choices because I don't have a green screen. But if I did, it would give me that option to make it black in color. So I'm going to delete this for now. You just hit the little X that deletes it, but that's how you'd get a dark screen over a green screen. So that's it for the video actions. Let's move on to audio action. And in audio, the only action I usually do, let me show you what I do. If you have seen any of the other videos on my channel, or even this one, you'll see that it starts with an intro video. So I'm going to show you two things here how to do. One is how to add an intro video. So there's intros and outros, and I didn't make this up. That's what I've learned. And so an intro video is just like your introduction. It could be an animation, it could be just you talking, which would be like every time you say the same thing, and then you transition into your actual content. And what I do is, let me move this here. I'm going to go to my folder. I'm going to go to intro, outro, and I'm going to drag these two intro and outro videos. So click on the media here, find your files, and just drag and drop them here. So there's my intro, there's my outro, and now I'm going to drag my intro file and bring it here. So I want my intro to start first, and then a few seconds later I want everything else to come in. So here's what I do. I select these two top files and I drag them a little bit over so that my intro is what starts first. Now there is something with my intro where it's larger than the actual Screenflow screen size. So what I do is I zoom out. I just click here, and once you click in here, I just use the mouse pad to zoom in and out. On my Mac, I just use kind of like the pinch, zoom to pinch thing, and I find these corners and I drag them into the canvas. So now this is the same size as the Screenflow canvas, and now I can play this. For some reason the sound is like super loud on this, and I want to dim that sound, and that's where the sound feature comes in, which is this one right here. I'm pointing to it with my finger instead of my mouse, so it's this one right here. Before I show you that, let me show you something else, is positioning this onto this palette at the bottom, how you want to position it on this scale right here. And what I mean by that is, right now if I play this, you'll see that my face just showed up on top of that. And what you can do is, if you move this part on the top, now there's an overlay in the back, right? So my face has appeared, but it's being overlaid, or my face is overlaying that animation. So you can do that. And now what I want to do is, for this entire animation, I want to decrease the volume. The way I do it is, once you've selected a track that you want to decrease the audio on, now we are on the second tab, we covered video. On audio, I just changed the percentage of volume to 3%. You can play with that scale from 0 to 100. It even goes above 100. I think you can go like up to 400, I believe, or it just keeps going. Okay, so I go bring it down to 3%, and now when I play this, let's hit play, and let's go here. It's not as loud as it was at 100%, and that's how I like it.
What's up, guys? Welcome
And you
back
saw,
to
because
Course
we changed the
Creator.
layering, just by changing this position, Screenflow knows that that particular clip is supposed to go on top, and that's the priority order. So I'm going to move this back on the second level. All right. So that's the only thing I do in sound. I don't do much in sound. I have not played with any of the filters, the effects. My goal is to get these videos out there on YouTube so I can show you guys how it's done. I'm not looking to get anything fancy here. I just want to get the job done. Moving on to the next step. So let's go to this part where my face is shrunk here to the corner. And now what I want to show you in here is not video motion, not screen, callouts. So callouts are, as the name suggests, you want to call out attention to a part of your screen where you want your users or your visitors or your students to take notice, and those are callouts. So callouts can be something zooming in, something blurring out, or you want to highlight one thing and everything around that thing should be dark, so you can do all of that. I'm going to move this part right here so we have a little bit bigger area to play with. And again, this part I don't want to do on my video, which is just this small area. I want to do it on my screen recording, which is the bigger area. So I'm going to select that. Once you've selected it, select the plus sign. Again, the plus adds the action. So the action has been added. Now what do I want this action to do? I want it to be freehand. So you can do mouse cursor, you can do foreground window, or you can do freehand. I'm going to do freehand. I'm going to select a square, and I'm going to select this square right here. So that's the call out. I want everyone to look there on just that window. And then what I want on the background is I want to blur the background. So I'll select this part, which is blurring the background, and you select how much, not that one. Alright, so you've blurred the background, and now you can change the opacity. So see how around this square, around this square right here, everything else is darker. So you can make it even darker if you want. You can just make just jet black, or you can make it lighter if you want it, or you can go all the way light to 0% opacity and just make it blur. So you can play with those controls. We already did the blurring of the background. Now you can even blur this section. So let's say this was a section that's showing some of my customer information, maybe your student information, and you don't want to show that, you can blur it. So simply just keep dragging this blur till it's at a satisfactory level for you, and then let go, and that's it. That's how you blur. And then let's say you want this area to zoom up a bit so your students can see clearly what you're talking about. You do that here. You'll just zoom this up and see that part now becomes the center of the screen. And let me show you what that looks like. Let's quickly play this much. Comments, some blurring of things, some arrows pointing somewhere, and I'm going to show you all of that. So that one didn't have any transition. It just kind of appeared and disappeared, right? So the next thing we want to do is I'm going to make this a little larger. Now let's say you created a call out, you want to elongate it. You can just simply go to that call out, drag it out to as much longer as you want, and now it's going to do that thing for that amount of time. Now because this is doing it very, it's like a very jerky motion, I want to add a transition to it. And how you add transitions is, once you have your call out, just right click on it, and you can do curve type. And what I usually select is ease in and out, and that does a little bit of the trick where it won't be as, the motion is not as jerky, where it'll ease in and out. And you can play with this. You can try, there is exponential ease in and out, so we can try that. So kind of play around with it, see what works best for you, and whatever suits you, do that. So that was the part where you can make things blurry, you can make things opaque. And now let's look at what else you can do. So I'm going to add another call out action, and in this one I'm just going to leave it as mouse cursor, and I'm going to select the mouse cursor outline to be yellow, and I'm going to give the outline 4 pixels, and I'm not going to give it any shadow. I'm going to not blur the background. I'm going to turn down the opacity. And now what happens is, as your mouse moves on the screen, this circle will move with it. Now in this case, unfortunately, my mouse wasn't moving, so you can see that. Let me find the other one where maybe my mouse is moving. Let's see. Let's try this one. Okay, so looks like this is where my mouse is moving a bit. Man, I talk a lot. Thank you guys for bearing with me and watching me talk all of this. Okay, so let's say you want to show your mouse movements, show exactly where your mouse is going. I would click on the screen recording. I would put a touch call out and I'd leave it at the mouse cursor, and I'm going to make it a little. Okay, and now you will see that as your mouse moves, that circle kind of moves around with it, and I can pull that farther to make it go as farther as I want. And you can see as I'm moving, my mouse is moving, it's moving that circle, and that's going to draw attention to where you want your students to look. So that's how you do that. I'm not going to save this. I'm just going to X out. Okay, so let's go back to this one. That's how you do the touch call out, and you do the mouse cursor. And so we did that. Now let's say you want to just zoom, right? You don't want to do anything else. I can add another call to action. I mean, not call to action, another action. And then I'm going to say freehand. I'm going to decrease the opacity, and all I want to do is zoom this area. So I draw over here, and that's with the freehand and the rectangle instead of the circle. And now I zoom up, and that area is going to zoom up. And let me show you what that looks like. If I just rewind here a little bit, you'll see that now that area is going to zoom up as we go through this call out, and then it's going to go back down. So that's how you would zoom in and out on certain sections. Again, where you want to draw your students' attentions, that's where you would do it. And then I think that's it for the touch call out. I don't think there's anything else. I don't use shadows, so play with it, see how it works. I usually don't use the foreground window, so I'm not going to show you how that works. And that's all for callouts. The next we're going to do is, if you have an iPhone video, you can do touch callout, because when you're recording the iPhone video, you connect your iPhone, or I don't know if it works with Androids. I would think it would, but I haven't tested it. So when you connect your phone, Screenflow is going to ask you whether you want to record the screen of your phone as an output. And when you do, every time you're touching your screen, Screenflow does not capture those touches, but you can add touches using this touch callout feature. So if you want, maybe you are creating a walkthrough of how to use an app, you can add those touch callouts where basically you're showing users, this is where I touch the screen, this is where I touch the menu, this is where I do this, and you can do that in touch callout. So the next one I'm going to use is annotations. Everyone loves annotations. And how this works is, let's say you've zoomed in here and you want to point to the play button. What I would do is, right here I would add a annotation. So I would hit the plus sign. I want to add arrow, and you have to select these later. First you add the plus sign, which adds the action, and then you select which shape you want. So I'm going to say that I want a rectangle first, so that I can put a rectangle around this, and I want this rectangle to not be so thick, so I'm going to change it to 15. I'm going to change it to be a little more closer to the edges, and I want to change the color to red. So let me just make this the bottom half of the canvas a little bigger. So what I want to show you is I want this annotation to be in line with the call out. So I kind of move this line here to measure, and then I move this call out a little bit bigger, and then I move this line on this side to measure again, and looks like it's pretty good. It's pretty in sync, maybe just a tad bit. Okay, here we go. So that's how you do it. Now your annotation, which is kind of like the rectangle we put it, will come and go at the same time as you zoom in and out. And in this case, instead of adding, So if I right click on this one, I can do the curve type and I can do the exponential ease in and out. But for annotations, you actually can choose your transitions. So I just right click and I do add starting and ending transitions. So it automatically adds a starting and ending transition. Now let's say you want to change the transition. What you do is you double click on this one. That's the starting transition, and you can kind of see which one you like. So if I just keep my mouse hovered over a transition, it shows you real quick what that animation is going to look like. So let's say I want to do the cube, I hover over it, you can see how that will transition in and out. Now whatever you pick as your in transition doesn't have to be the same as your out transition, they can be different. So for example, I could do a cross blur as my in transition, and for my out transition I double click again and I can do maybe, I don't know, like a meltdown. And again, if I hover over it, you'll see what that looks like. And I don't spend too much time on transitions. Again, the idea is to get the content out there, work on the fancy part later. So now I have added a square, but now I also want to add an arrow to make sure my users are looking or my students are looking where I want them to look. So how I do that is I click on the screen record part again and I add another annotation, and it'll just keep adding on top of it. Now I'm going to move this a little bit here so it matches, and this one is going to be an arrow. I'm going to point the arrow to the play button, and I want the arrow to maybe be only 25 in thickness. Actually 50 was good, or 55. And now you can give your arrow a start point and an end point. So I can change the end point, I can change the start point, and that's how it works. And I can also change the color. Let's make it yellow, and there you have it. So now I can do actually 2 arrows. I can do as many arrows as I want, and all of these will appear at the same time, and they will also go away at the same time. So let's see what this looks like. I haven't given this one any transition, so I'm just going to do start and end transition. And now if I make this a little bigger, I'll see I have my call out, I have my square, and I have my arrows. So let's see what they look like. I'm going to just hit the play button. There you go. So that's how you would do the arrows. And again, they have a bunch of annotations here. You can see which one you like best and do that. I already showed you how to add media. You simply drag and drop any media you have here. The last thing I want to show you is text, how to do text, and then I'm going to show you, after I do this, I'm going to show you how to export this into a video file, because right now once we are done with this, this is going to save as a Screenflow format, but we want to export this out into a MP4 so we can upload it to your favorite video player, whether it's YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia, or you have a third-party hosting, whatever it is. How they will not accept a .screenflow document. You have to change it, and how you change it is you export it out. So I'm going to show you that too. But before we do, the one last thing I want to show you here that I do is text. So let's say now I want to add text, right? But I want to add text to my video. So first thing what I want to do is I want to come to this after the video action, my video is bigger, and now I can click on the text part and hit add. So it adds this little text box here, as you can see. And now I want to make the text bigger in size. Let's go with 96. Now it's asking you, do you want a fill color? If yes, what's the fill color? If I uncheck this, the text is going to go away. So yes, I want fill color, and I'm going to change it to white, and that's basically the color of the text. Actually, let's go with blue. So I want blue text color, and I want a backdrop, and I want the backdrop to be white. You can put a solid color on an image fill, so I just leave it at solid color. And if you select outline, then your text will have outline. And now I can just type what I want, move it to the area of the screen that I want, and let's say I want the outline to be white. Make the outline a little more thicker, and actually let's go with a larger font size, maybe 144. Alright, maybe not. Let's go with 96. Okay. And then again, once you're done with that, you can right click here, you can add starting and ending transitions, and then you can make this shorter so it will only appear for that amount of time. So let's say I want to make this only a second. I can keep going till I see that 1 second mark, and that's it. Now if I play this, was in for a second and then it went away. Now the other thing that I have used sometimes is when I'm doing videos, let's say I'm creating a web page, I want to show you the next step, but I also want to not cut. So I don't want to clap and cut on this point and then show you straight away how I did it. I want you to see the process, but I don't want to keep talking because I'm busy building the site. In those cases, what I do is I speed up the video to like 300% faster than what it was. And how I would do that is, so first thing what I want to do is, in that, I don't care about my video, like my face, and also I don't care about the audio. I usually put some royalty free music in the background, and I'll just fast forward my video so you see everything in super fast motion. And how I do that is, let me come to the screen part. Actually, let me go back to the video part. I'm going to add a video action, make this smaller again, and let's say from the minute marker here till about the end, we want to speed up this video. So I'm going to select these two tracks right here, and I'm going to hit the letter T. So I'm going to cut it. I'm going to get rid of my face and my audio. I'm going to leave the screen recording. So if I start playing, you will see my face and the audio is gone, only the screen recording is playing. And now if I click on this little gear icon, I can click here. Let me show you where that gear icon is. You should see it right here. If I click on it, it's what, show clip inspector, and now here you can speed it up to 300%, and you'll see the clip just got shorter because I sped it up. So you can speed it up to 300%, and what I would do usually at this point is I would add a royalty free music. So how you do that is you go to media. I usually go to my Finder. I have a folder in here called royalty free music. I'll just find my MP3, drag it here, take it from here, bring it maybe below this. Maybe I want to bring it below this right here. And Screenflow automatically adds layers as you just drag and drop things. Alright, why wouldn't it stay? Come on. Alright, now you can see the volume looks real loud. I don't want the volume to be loud, so I would do the same thing we did earlier, where I would click on it, select the volume button, change it, and change it to 5% volume. And now if I hit play, it's not that bad. So even if my listeners, my students have it at full blast, the volume is not going to like scare them. So, and then I just cut it here. Where the clip ends, I just cut the audio clip, delete this part. Boom, we are done. So it's not that complicated. It does take a little bit of getting used to. Again, there are more features and functionalities. I'm sure you can find more. If you want to get more complex, you can do that. This is really the extent of what I do when I create my videos. Now the last thing I'm going to do is I click on File and I click on Export. And this is where you would select how there are some presets in here, so you can use one of these presets. Let me see if I can move this down here. File, export. It doesn't look like I can move the screen down here to show you all the presets, but there's web high, web low, lossless, ProRes, audio only, blah 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 blah. So these are all the settings you can use. I have one that I created, and when I used to do this in the beginning, I was doing it on Teachable, so I called it Teachable. You can call it whatever you want. And what I do is I do the 1920 by 1080. So that's the 1920 by 1080 is like the HD resolution. I guess I saw someone do it on YouTube and it has been working fine for me, and that's the one I use. And then in the this is like the audio encoding part. I do so video and audio encoding. I do 60 frames per second, data rate at 5000, profile main, automatic, and then on the audio I do this one, and this one, and that's it. And then I hit export. Once you hit export, depending on how fast your computer is, how long your video is, it'll take you maybe an hour, 2 hour, depends on really how long the video is. Some of my videos have taken me 9 hours to export, and then I upload it on YouTube, and that's really how it's done. So thank you so much for sticking around, watching yet another video. If you like this, please make sure you hit the like button, you comment, and you subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the other side with another video. Take care and have a great day.